Hello, I welcome you back. Today we are making fish stew. Here is the preparation for the fish. I'm washing it. I've washed it about 4 times thoroughly. This is some apple cider vinegar. Apple cider vinegar that I actually made at home. This has been about 3 years ago, the last time I made a bunch. So that's the last bottle left. Yes, it's all I had. I didn't have any white vinegar. So after I've washed the fish for about 4 times, I put some in a bowl and fill it up with water. Now we're going to put the fish in the vinegar water, as you can see, and then let it sit for some time and leave it alone. About 3 to 4 large onions, pepper, ginger, garlic, and anise. Here I add some green pepper and some water to make it easy to blend the whole thing. We will be blending this, and this will be the base for the stew. I used red onions. I think I used about 4 to 3 of them, and then some garlic, ginger, habanero pepper, green pepper, water, and anise. All right, we're blending that right now, and we will be starting our stew shortly. So we're just blending the vegetables that I showed you previously, and just blend it to your likeness, smooth or textured, however you like it. Here's the start of our stew. Here's some red onions we've chopped up. We're sauteing that, just making it a little bit tender. And here comes in the vegetables that we have just blended out together. We will be mixing it together and then let it just cook by itself for a little bit. And then we'll come in with the rest of the ingredients as we move along. This is some diced tomatoes, 4 cans, I believe. We'll blend it out, and then that will also be added to the stew. I prefer using diced tomatoes and a mixture of fresh ones if I have it. If I don't, just the diced is what I go for. We come back to the stew. We add 2 cans of tomato paste. You know how thick tomato paste is. So after you've added that, you just got to really stir it really good to make it really dissolve. Like you need to stir that thing out and thin it out so it will lighten up and get thicken up your stew the way you like it. So I just like I'm doing it. I'm just trying to loosen it and getting it very, very, very smooth here. Okay, mission accomplished. We're going to add just 1 diced tomatoes as well. Just 1 dice. I like to have the chunks in the stew as well. You can cut up fresh tomatoes and put it in if you prefer that as well. Either one works, whichever you prefer, which is whichever you use. Okay, so after the dice has gone in, I covered it up, went back to the fish, which was in the water. It had been in the water for some time, about 30 minutes. Before I even started the stew, I did that. So it had time to really soak up the vinegar. The vinegar really, really, really cleans it out thoroughly and take out most of the slime and the fish taste that you don't want after you've had the fish. So here I'm just washing off the vinegar very good. And you see that I'm making sure the water goes inside of the fish and using my finger to clean the side of the fish. This is a last wash, so I'm making sure I do a very good job here. Yeah, fish has to be cleaned very well because you don't want your fish to being all slimy. So after we wash the fish, we will season it. Here is the seasoning that I used. I used shrimp, cayenne, parsley, ginger, garlic, and adobo, and black pepper. And black pepper, yes. All right, so I poured it on there, and we're just gonna do a hand rub. And to make it very easy, you do need the oil to make a good rub. And oil makes it very, it makes the seasoning stick on it really well. And then when you put it in your air fryer or your oven, it helps it not to stick in your pan. Of course, you can brush some oil in your pan, but adding it with a seasoning really brings a texture that makes it stick really well to the fish, and that's what you want. You want your seasoning to stick on it so you can taste it. You don't want bland fish because that's not going to be very tasty. So here I'm just rubbing it inside out, making sure every part of the fish is covered in the amazing seasoning. Tasty seasoning. So let's just keep rubbing. You stop when you feel like every part of the fish is covered. I sprinkled a little bit salt, just a little bit, on it, and then I continued to rub it on because I felt like it needed a little bit more salt, just a touch of salt. We're transitioning our fish into the pan, the baking pan. We're just basically layering it. This is just a foil pan. It's a small size, layered with a foil wrap. And then we're not wasting any of our marinade. So I just used the kitchen brush to scoop out the rest of the marinade or seasoning and just dumped it all inside out. Why would you want that to go to waste? Because it can be on the fish and it can make it even tastier. So just like I'm doing, I just scoop everything. I'm not a wasteful person. I'm not frugal, or maybe I am frugal, but I'm not a wasteful person. And I like to make sure the fish is very and well covered in the seasoning to get the best results. So there we go. And we're almost done with that. Just look at how beautiful their marinade or the seasoning is sitting on the fish. It's ready to go in the oven. Let's do this. Let's bake it. I did not use an air fryer this time. Sometimes I use an air fryer. I did have more fish than will fit in the air fryer, so we did an oven bake. Now we go back to the stew and we stir it one more time. After I had prepared the fish, I came back and stirred the stew. You are stewing, you're always stirring. Stewing and stirring goes together. If you don't stir, your stew will burn. The bottom of your stew will burn and it will get into your stew, and you don't want burnt stew. So you just got to keep stirring. This is where we add our blended tomatoes. Like I said, diced or fresh or both mixture is fine. So that goes in there. We are going to stir the whole mixture together and cover it up and just let it cook. Take its time slowly to cook. All right, because we're just gonna leave it to cook. Here's where I bring in my extra oil. You need the oil. You definitely need the extra oil. You can scoop it out after the stew is done, but if you don't add enough oil to cover over your tomatoes, your stew will be cooking for a very long time. The oil makes the cook faster, trust me. Cover it up with oil, not excessively. Like you see, I did put oil, extra oil, but not excessively, and it will help it cook quicker. Turn the oven on. We're just going to stick the fish in and bake it at this point. Nothing special here to see. Just sticking the fish in the oven. All right, fish doesn't take too long to cook, so you see it is ready. Put that aside and go back to the stew. This is about 20-25 minutes after I covered it to about half an hour that the stew is looking this way. You see all the oil is settled back on the top and it's changed color. It's red, bright red. When your stew is done, scoop it all out. Sometimes I scoop it up, put it in a bowl, close it up, a little container, put it in the freezer, and I can reuse it for another fish stew or another stew. But you need it. Here is some bay leaves. All I have here is chicken and shrimp powder, adobo, curry powder, and then nutmeg. There's a lot of seasoning on the fish, so we're good to go with this. Pour that in the stew as well and continue to stir. Here's the fish in its full glory. So when I turned off the oven, I baked it for about, say, 20 minutes. And we put it in the stew. I did let the fish stay in the oven after even I turned it off until the stew was completely cooked, because the heat in the oven will harden the fish. And because the fish is going into stew, you do want that. The stew will soften it back up. So it stayed in the oven till everything was done. Like, it was perfect to put in a stew. It wasn't, this fish, basically, this pompeo fish has really strong, thick skin. It does not break apart easily. So it's a good choice to use for stewing. But yes, if you leave it in there oven, the heat will harden it a little bit where you're not afraid that your fish will be broken apart inside of your stew. So here, after it's gone in there, I just mixed it. After I added the fish on a very low heat, I turned the heat back on so that they could just mix. And I have some of the stew ready in a serving bowl. We are about to eat lunch. It was lunchtime here on my side of town. So I'm just dressing or garnishing the stew in the serving bowl with some red, yellow, and green peppers, just for beautifying and garnishing, just to make it look appetizing. It looks like the Ghana flag. Red, gold, and green. And the fish is the star of the stew, just like the black star is the star of the flag. So there you have it. It is beautiful, ready, tasty, healthy, and ready to be enjoyed. Just appreciate it right now. Of course, that is my plate. My plate, like my kid would say, my. So here's my fish stew with my cup of rice, 1 cup of rice, and some steamed vegetables that my husband made. He will bring you that recipe later on. It is very healthy. Just steamed it in the steamer. Yeah. And it's a whole bunch of healthy vegetables with olive oil and black pepper. That's it to dress it. So that went beautiful and it went tasty with my lunch. My fish stew is done. Served with rice. You can eat it with kenkey. You can eat it with yams. You can eat it with whatever you prefer. Try this recipe and let me know how you liked it. And comment, like, share, please, all of my videos. I thank you for your time tuning in. I will see you again in my next video. I appreciate you a lot. Please help my channel grow. Thank you.